Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be reviewing Roja's Neiman Marcus Parfum. I have about 14 of these 2ml samples, kind of a long story, but I've worn it very many times. So Neiman Marcus Parfum is not talked about a lot, and usually what that means with an expensive and pretty well regarded niche fragrance house is one of two things. One, it's either really bad, or two, it is just new and not that many people have smelled it, and that seems to be the case for this one. So a little bit about this fragrance. It was released in 2025 and it's a fruity gourmand. I've heard some people compare it to Lost in Paris, also from the house of Roja. Not even close. I'm going to tell you that right off the bat. And in my opinion, if you're going to sample one, then definitely go for Lost in Paris. Now, I'll do a separate review on that because that's one of my favorite perfumes ever. And it's definitely my favorite gourmand that I've ever smelled. Here's a sample. This one is brand new. So let's give it some sprays and really remind myself of how this opens because I have not worn this in many months. The first thing that comes to my mind is that this is very pleasant, but unfortunately it kind of stops there for me. Throughout the entire wearing of this perfume, every time I've worn it, it's good in the beginning, it's good in the mid, and it's good in the dry down, but it's nothing spectacular. It's nothing insanely unique, and although it's a very pleasant scent and scent profile, it's definitely not worth the price. Now with that being said though, fragrance is subjective in every way, shape, and form. It's subjective in terms of its scent, it's subjective in terms of its value to different people. But with that being said, for a relatively basic, albeit very well done scent profile like this, I do not think this is worth the money. But that's for you to decide. So what does this really smell like? It's very fruity forward. The note that's pushing through the most on the opening is blackberry. It's not blackberry by itself though. It's tart and it's buttery, but it's also sweet. And I like to describe the smell, especially in the air, as a blackberry pie. I'm not sure if there's ambergris listed, but there is a very beautiful salty note. It's not overly salty like an aquatic perfume, but it has a nice underlying saltiness that really balances all the sweetness and the tartness out. Now I'm going to say something that not everyone likes to hear when it comes to expensive and niche perfumes. And that is that this scent does not really change throughout the entirety of its lifespan. The dry down and the opening aren't identical, but they're similar enough to each other to where it's a little bit annoying because typically when people are paying premium prices for premium perfumes, they expect a certain level of depth, quality, and complexity. And don't get me wrong, this is very high quality and it's very well made. But from the house of Roja Dove, in my opinion, this is a little bit basic. There are a lot of pros to this fragrance as well though. First major pro about this fragrance is that it never gets too cloying, too overwhelming, or too sweet. And that is by far the #1 issue with gourmand perfumes. When I started my fragrance journey, gourmands are one of my favorites. Almost every time that I bought a gourmand, after a certain amount of time, they got too cloying, too sweet, and too repetitive. Neiman Marcus Parfum is really nice because it's tart, it's sweet, it's a little bit sour, it's buttery, it's salty, and everything is balanced. My final verdict is that this is a really solid perfume. The cons are that it's overpriced, it's not super unique, and that's pretty much it, which is a good thing. And what's good about it is that it lasts a long time, it's never too sweet, it's not cloying, the notes are balanced, it's very high quality, it smells very good in the air, and it's something that everyone will like so it won't be a challenge to other strangers. And although I don't necessarily think that the price justifies the scent profile, if you want a well-made, balanced, and easygoing gourmand perfume, then Roja's Neiman Marcus is definitely the way to go. Before I end this video, I do want to say that I think Lost in Paris is a much better perfume, but there are two major cons with the Lost in Paris that Neiman Marcus Parfum fixes for me. The first one being the price. Now, I know I was just talking about how this is very overpriced, and it still is. I think it retails for between the $400 and $500 range for a 50 milliliter bottle, which is, it's expensive. But Lost in Paris is almost triple that. I think it's about $1,150 for an 100 ml, which is absolutely outrageous. The second thing that is really good about Neiman Marcus Parfum is what I said earlier about how this is never too cloying or overpowering. Lost in Paris, although I like that scent profile better, is very sweet, very cloying, it's extremely dense, and it's definitely not for everyone. But Neiman Marcus Parfum is airy, sugary, buttery, and just very balanced. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you smell this. I have barely heard anyone talk about this, and although it's not my favorite perfume ever, it's very solid. I'll give this a final rating of an 8.3 out of 10, and one day I wouldn't be surprised if this is in my collection. But right now, there are definitely some other gourmands that I prefer over this.